they met the Parthian general Surena. Surena commanded 10,000 cavalry, less than a quarter of Crassus's force. But he had brought something the Romans had never encountered in such volume: camels loaded with arrows. The Parthian horse archers fired and wheeled, fired and wheeled. The Romans locked their shields, waiting for the arrows to run out. They never ran out. Every time a Parthian quiver emptied, a fresh camel loaded with ammunition appeared. Plutarch records that the Romans finally understood there was no end to it. Surena then sent Crassus's son Publius on a chase. The young man rode out with his cavalry, was encircled, and was killed. The Parthians returned bearing Publius's severed head on a lance and paraded it before the Roman lines. Crassus, according to every ancient source, became catatonic with grief. He could not command, he could not decide, he simply collapsed. What followed next is the part that applies with surgical precision to the news we read this morning. Surena sent word. He wished to negotiate, to offer terms, a peace conference. Crassus's own troops demanded he attend. If he did not accept the negotiations, they threatened mutiny. Reluctantly, Crassus rode out to the meeting. It was a trap. He was killed. 20,000 Romans died at Carrhae. 10,000 were captured and marched east. So far east, in fact, that some historians believe remnants of these Roman legionaries eventually settled in China in a place called Lixian. One fights Parthia, and somehow China inherits the prisoners. History, I assure you, has a very dark sense of humor. But the punchline, and I mean this sincerely, is what happened after Crassus died. Because Crassus was famous above all things for his extraordinary wealth. And so the Parthians, in what remains one of the most perfectly calibrated insults in the entire ancient world, poured molten gold into his dead mouth. A golden death for the man who died chasing gold. 2,079 years later, a president whose buildings bear his name in gold letters, whose penthouse is decorated in gold leaf, who once sat on what his critics call a golden throne, is currently conducting a war against the successor state to the Parthian Empire. He has announced productive negotiations. The other side says no negotiations took place. And every time Tehran fires a missile while simultaneously denying any talks, ladies and gentlemen, that is what the ancient world called the Parthian shot. An expression, incidentally, which entered the English language precisely because of the Battle of Carrhae. Parthian cavalry would fire arrows while in full retreat, delivering devastation as they appeared to withdraw. The phrase survived 2 millennia. The tactic, it would seem, survived right along with it.